DiCaprio Uncut. I'm Todd Newton at CFI in Hollywood, where some of the post-production for Titanic was actually done. Now, the film includes over 500 special effects shots to make the ship and the iceberg, everything seem as real as possible. And believe me, if you've seen the film, you know exactly what I'm saying when I tell you it worked. But when it comes to the leading man, there are no special effects to be found. Leonardo DiCaprio is being hailed as one of the finest young stars in Hollywood.
It's funny because Romeo and Juliet, I think, is really the film that, you know, put my face out there more than anything. And it's interesting having to sort of deal with how my life has changed now. And, you know, it's really not that bad. It's not the worst thing in the world to be recognized. I heard a whole bunch of horror stories about it, but it's not really that bad. I mean, I think the main key is to sort of just try and be comfortable with yourself in outside environments, and people, you know, not always, but they will feel more comfortable around you.
In 1996, Leo starred in a 90s version of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet from Australian director Baz Luhrmann.
There was no other Romeo. I was thinking about doing this project. It took an enormous amount of time to convince the studio to do it.
I discovered there these scenes where, like, Romeo hung out with the rest of the guys and talked about women. You know, I started to realize that he was a normal guy, and that's what really started to make me appeal to the character.
But by the time it came to cast the right Juliet, Claire Danes was the one who caught Leonardo's eye and held his attention.
She had a lot of power to what she was saying, and she was the only one during the audition that looked me right in the eye and really, you know, gave it to me and didn't let loose.
He's so brilliant. He's really, really, truly amazing as an actor and as a person, too. So it was great to learn about him on and off camera.
With Romeo and Juliet, Leonardo was suddenly a hot commodity. One magazine pegged him as one of Hollywood's elite.
When you read something about you, people sort of want to define you in one sort of way and say that's what you are, when you yourself don't even know what you are, you know what I mean? Get to a point where you're saying, you're reading this and saying, is this what I am? You know, I don't even know that. Why are you impressing this on me? I don't know that. So, I mean, I've been away so much, and my home life has been so the same. I mean, since junior high school, it's sort of remained the same. You know, I just have a lot more responsibilities as far as, like, this is like my job now, you know what I mean? And, you know, I get recognized a lot more than I ever have in my life, but, you know, how bad is that? I mean, somebody coming up to you and telling you they like your work is not the worst thing in the world. It's not like you get, you know, a knife stuck to your throat every day or something. It's not that tedious, and it's not really bad as it's cracked up to be, I don't think.
Leo had already spent 4 months in Mexico shooting Romeo and Juliet when James Cameron cast him for Titanic and sent him back to Mexico for many more months of shooting. Cameron compares DiCaprio to a young Gary Cooper.
Leonardo is a great actor, possibly the greatest actor of his age out there.
Before he took the role, Leo was apprehensive about taking a part in what was bound to be a mega hit.
Well, yeah, it's sort of my big commercial try, but I looked at it this way. I mean, I've been sort of so opposite with that. You know, I've sort of been trying to never do something like that. And I mean, I certainly, I'm not going to continue being, you know, the commercial guy. I don't want to go that route, but I don't want to discriminate a piece of work just because it is commercially, you know, has commercial potential. I mean, I can't be that extreme.
By all counts, Titanic was a long, intense shoot.
You've got to know going into the Titanic that you're gonna go through some stuff.
But Leonardo chilled out on the set by playing video games and practical jokes on director James Cameron. After spending plenty of time in cold water on sinking ship sets, Leo dumped a bucket of ice water on Cameron's head and got away with it.
Leo was a hoot. It was like having, you know, a younger brother I never had.
Leo's infectious. You know, if he's in a good mood, you know, which during 8 months of filming you're going to have a couple of bad days, but if he's in a good mood, man, everybody feels it. I mean, he's just a lot of fun.
And he's a good mimic. According to more than one source, he likes doing impressions of everyone from Robert De Niro to Sharon Stone. Leonardo said at Titanic's Tokyo premiere that the film made a man out of me, a quote he says he's since come to regret. With the LA premiere of the movie, the baby-cheeked rebel who barely shaves finally had to face up to the role of leading man, thanks to some help from E's Melissa Rivers and myself.
Leonardo DiCaprio. I love, you know what, can we do something real quick before we get into the interview? Let's do something for all these people back here. Look at that, man. That's what it's all about tonight, right?
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
So, an amazing evening for you so far?
I mean, it's pretty spectacular. I've never done a film sort of near this caliber in my lifetime, and I don't think most people have, so it's unbelievably shocking to see all this. I mean, I'm a little overwhelmed, but it's cool, you know? Just trying to keep it real, I guess.
Cameron says he actually didn't think of Leo first when he was writing and casting the movie. It's rumored that both Chris O'Donnell and Matthew McConaughey were being considered for his Titanic role. But when the director got Kate and Leo together, he saw magic.
I met them both in the normal course of casting and was just vastly impressed, both by Kate and by Leo. Kate, you know, just for her command, you know, as an actor, and for her the luminosity of her face, her eyes, her expressiveness. There's something that just makes you want to spend time with her. And with Leonardo, of course, you know, I mean, what need I say more? He wasn't a star, really, per se, when I met him. He was a very promising, you know, young talent. And, you know, we got a little bit lucky with his, you know, recent stardom, which hopefully Titanic will even increase. But with Leonardo, I saw a guy who had the looks, who had the acting skill, who had the kind of inherent charm necessary to play this guy who can talk his way into any situation and charm this girl out of her entire world, you know, which is really what was necessary.
Despite his success, Leo says he doesn't feel like a big star.
I tend not to think about that. That's a pressure-filled, you know, statement.
Wow, that sheds some new light on our hero, doesn't it? It's hard to believe he doesn't see himself as a star. I mean, because he really is a big, big star. Well, whatever the case, folks, stay right where you are, because when we come back, we're going to take you there. We're going to delve right into the personal life of Leonardo DiCaprio. And you say you want a date with Romeo. Well, unfortunately, I think you're going to have to stand in line.
And the Library of Congress reportedly gets more inquiries about Titanic than any other subject, except the Civil War and the Bible. And there's more. This month, British royal jeweler Asprey London will recreate Coeur de la Mer, the film's centerpiece necklace.
That's James Cameron's sketch. He hired artists to make that sketch, and none of them satisfied him, so he did it himself.
The first known attempt by filmmakers to recreate the disaster has resurfaced in Germany. The original distress calls received from the Titanic on that fateful night in 1912 have been auctioned off by Christie's of New York for a whopping $110,000. And props for the movie are now for sale by mail order. In fact, someone's already paid $11,000 to feel as glamorous as Kate Winslet did in this evening gown. The outfit of a certain third-class passenger, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, sold for $9,000.
I've never been in anything that made over $18 at the box office, so it's all new to me.
Movies this popular are usually ignored by the Academy when it comes time for Oscar nominations, but once again, Titanic is upsetting expectations. With its 14 nominations, the film has tied the record set 47 years ago by All About Eve, and it's become the first billion-dollar movie ever released.
I could never have anticipated that these amazing things would happen to it and that it would be the biggest movie ever made of all time. Never, ever, ever could I have imagined that that would happen.
Signs of the impending mania were evident on Titanic's maiden voyage, the film's premiere at the Tokyo Film Festival.
We went through a lot of things, and a lot of different emotions comes up doing a film like this. And I have to say, after being there for that long and working as hard as I did, I've never gotten as much out of a filmmaking experience as I have on this film.
Newly anointed heartthrob Leonardo DiCaprio was given a royal audience in London.
I've seen the film, and it's so unbelievably spectacular that, you know, those kind of headlines will come and go. What will last is the actual film.
And a hero's welcome in Hollywood.
It's pretty spectacular. I've never done a film sort of near this caliber in my lifetime, and I don't think most people have, so it's unbelievably shocking to see all this. I mean, I'm a little overwhelmed, but it's cool, you know, just trying to keep it real, I guess.
At the Hollywood premiere, director James Cameron finally felt vindicated for his efforts.
Because this thing has been a real odyssey, and it's been a lot of my life and a lot of my soul. you know, in this movie. So I'm happy to be done, and I'm happy that people are responding really well to the film.
And Cameron's biggest fan exemplified moviegoers' passionate response to Titanic.
The strength is the story, how emotional it is, what a great love story it is, and those kind of things. So to me, when I saw those pieces, it brought tears to my eyes. Now I'm not the kind of a guy that cries easy.
You jump high, jump right.
I hope you enjoy your time together!
Arnold isn't the only one sobbing into his hanky. At screenings around the globe, there's hardly a dry eye in the theater. Audiences are captivated by the story of two star-crossed lovers whose ship of dreams becomes a watery grave.
When I pitched it to Fox, I said, you know, it's kind of like, you know, Romeo and Juliet on the Titanic.
Oh, forget it, boyo. You'll never get next to the likes of her.
Leo and I knew that that was very much the thing that we had to create, because it couldn't be about a sinking ship and the special effects and all of those things. It was really about Jack and Rose.
Why can't I be like you, Jack? Just head out for the horizon whenever I feel like it.
Rose has a lot of elements of Jack in her that she, you know, that are locked up, and when she meets him, he sort of opens her whole world.
You see people.
See you.
And I think a love as deep as that is something that people long for, some people have experienced in their lives.
Jack! This is where we first met.
You did think, God, I'm really a part of something that's probably going to be historical. I mean, you did feel that.
So stick around and become part of this historical event. In the next hour, we'll follow Leonardo DiCaprio, Kate Winslet, James Cameron, and the rest of the cast and crew behind the scenes, under the water, and above deck, as we explore the ever-fascinating saga that is Titanic-Mania. Now, there's no question that the man of the hour is director James Cameron. He stunned both his fans and detractors with the dazzling success of this mega-budgeted romantic epic. Cameron's passion for his work runs deep, and as Todd Newton tells us, in the case of Titanic, 2.5 miles deep.
It'd be deep down there. Before he even shot a single frame of his epic movie, the director needed to become a passenger in order to understand the experience of Titanic. He wanted to make sure he knew everything about his subject matter, from bow to stern. Over the course of 6 months, Cameron himself made 12 deep-sea dives, an 8-hour voyage each way through the murky depths of the North Atlantic.
It actually was a smart thing to do, because recreate it with visual effects would have cost just as much, but we got the real thing. And so it created a kind of a sense of the rest of the film now has to live up to that level of reality.
The actual footage he shot of the Titanic was used in 2 capacities. As video that his modern-day protagonist, played by Bill Paxton, records in his own voyage to the bottom of the sea, and as a template of what the interiors really looked like, so that they could be recreated for additional underwater scenes. Cameron's goal was to make the interior and exterior of Titanic absolutely accurate, to make it look as if you had stepped into a time machine.
When they were building the sets and doing the teacups and everything else, all had to live up to that standard of correctness, of historical correctness.
Since its discovery in 1985, no one has been able to get this close to the original ocean liner. Cameron and his crew recorded things that had not been seen since 1912. And it was here, on his 3rd or 4th visit to these dark, silent depths, that Cameron realized that Titanic was more than just a film.
Seeing the remnants of places where people were, you know, seeing chairs and bits of furniture and the glass still in the windows and all that just made it so much more real, you know. We think of Titanic as a story, but Titanic's not a story or a myth. It's a real thing that really happened.
Goodbye, miss you! Goodbye! I will never forget you!
James Cameron spared no expense in recreating the floating palace that was Titanic. He knew the legion of Titanic history buffs were prepared to scrutinize every aspect of the movie, ready to pounce on any deviation from the truth, and he was prepared.
Background and action.
From the design, to the costumes, to the recreation of the massive destruction, it's all there, down to the filigree on the china patterns. And it is, in fact, so genuine that even the veterans who worked behind the scenes were awed by the sheer magnitude of it all.
Jim Cameron said, I want the Titanic, and that's what we're going to give him.
It was Cameron's desire to make this the final word on the Titanic, and it fell to his design team to see that vision through. From exact replicas of stemware, to carpets designed by the very same company that created the original pattern, to moldings and deck chairs and luggage and marine accessories, even the rivets on the ship's hull. No detail was ignored.
We actually have teams of people making all the dining room chairs, for instance. We have 450 dining room chairs to make.
For the first time ever, the original blueprints of the Titanic were made available, and Cameron and crew used them to create their masterpiece, a 775-foot exterior set of the ship, complete with its 4 distinctive smokestacks.
Titanic has been so well studied, and there are so many amateur Titanic historians around who would be more than happy to come forth and tell us what we've done wrong, that we felt that you know, it doesn't cost any more to do it right than to do it wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Even the seawater was authentic, only it came from the Pacific rather than the North Atlantic, since the movie's stages were built in Mexico, right by the shore.
And action.
While Cameron oversaw every painstaking detail of the film's look and manner, some elements just came together perfectly on their own.
It was very scowly and overcast, but we were supposed to shoot the big sunset scene at the bow where they fly, and I said, I think there's going to be a sunset, and everybody said, no, there's not going to be a sunset, it's going to be dark and gray. I said, let's go down there, let's get set up, but we didn't give ourselves enough time, and Kate and Leo ran up, and they got up on the bow of the ship, and there was no time to rehearse, and all of a sudden the clouds parted, and this beautiful orange-red sunset, and the whole water turned scarlet, and I'm like, shoot, shoot, you know, and Kate's like, shoot, shoot, you know, she's practically peeing herself. She was so excited with the way it looked, and we shot it, and we had one take, and that's the take that's in the film.
Flying machine going up, she goes, up she goes.
Stick around, there's plenty more romance.
It was just an extraordinarily true story about what love really is to me.
A few close calls.
Everyone was thrashing around, and it was perilous and precarious and exciting.
1 hour look at Titanic-Mania continues. Just months ago, naysayers claimed that at a cost of $200 million, this was a movie destined to sink. Well, as we told you, Titanic has steamrolled over the competition, leaving all sorts of records in its wake. One reason for the movie's phenomenal success is that moviegoers can't seem to get enough. They're going back to see it again and again. And as Cindy Hom tells us, many of them are going back to see Leonardo DiCaprio, who it turns out is giving young women that sinking feeling.
I've seen it 5 times. 5? I love the movie, and it was great.
That's right. This woman sat through more than 16 hours of Titanic, and she's not alone. There seems to be plenty of moviegoers who are jumping on the sinking ship to see the film over and over again.
You miss certain things. It's a lot. There's a lot to see, and I would definitely pay to see it again.
Flying! So what does Titanic have that keeps people coming back for more?
It's just getting such a strong buzz, and anybody that sees the film is just amazed that they feel that they may be missing something after seeing a film so long, so they go back and they tell their friends, and they go back with their friends because they're so excited about it.
And they're also excited about a young man named Leonardo DiCaprio.
He's really attractive, but I think he's a good actor too. You really like it, you want to hug him in a movie, so it's really cute.
He has little girls swooning all over the world. To them, he's the biggest star to come along since maybe Tom Cruise.
Industry insiders say for a Titanic film like this one to turn a profit, repeat business is essential. Keep in mind, the more than 3-hour-long film cost $200 million to make, and it's already grossed well over that.
That's what's so amazing about the gross on this film, is that you can only screen it 3 times because it's so long. You can only fit in 3 screenings a day, as opposed to 5 for an hour and 50-minute film. It's just phenomenal.
And don't count on Titanic going under anytime soon. 3 months out, it's still pulling in huge audiences and demolishing box office records. I'm Cindy Hom for E! News.
You heard it. Moviegoers are wild about Titanic's leading man, Leonardo DiCaprio. As the story goes, when his mother was expecting him, Leo kicked her in the womb as she viewed a painting by Leonardo da Vinci, hence the name Leonardo. Well, like his namesake, Leonardo Wilhelm DiCaprio is certainly an artist, and his canvas is the big screen. And true to form, Leo is still kicking. This time, he's kicking down the doors to superstardom.
I knew going into it this was going to be something special.
If you didn't know of him before, you probably do now. Leonardo DiCaprio is Titanic's leading man, and his career is sailing into the sea of superstardom. It's a high compliment coming from the man who directed Leonardo for 7 months. But the 23-year-old wasn't a shoo-in for the role of Jack Dawson. First, he had to beat out Matthew McConaughey and Chris O'Donnell. Leonardo is certainly riding high these days, thanks to his first big-budget production, although he admits that part initially made him nervous.
My initial reaction when I first heard about the film was sort of, okay, here's another big blockbuster that's going to come out with no content.
His fears quickly vanished after a meeting with director James Cameron and his leading lady, Kate Winslet.
You know, Kate and I are so much like, we're so close on this film, we're like partners.
It was a partnership he would come to lean on heavily during a grueling shooting schedule.
Every day coming into set was it was almost like a new sort of roller coaster ride to take.
A very wet roller coaster ride.
You have days where you're not too fond of being there, definitely. But you've got to know going into the Titanic that you're gonna go through some stuff.
Come on! Come on!
This was the hardest movie I've ever had to make.
And he's been making movies since he was 16, beginning with This Boy's Life. Following a stint on the sitcom Growing Pains,
my mom wants me to become 18, and I'm having a big party calling Gilbert. Yep.
Leonardo has gone on to play parts ranging from a mentally challenged boy in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, a role that earned him an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor,
For I never saw true beauty till this night.
to the male lead in the 90s version of Romeo and Juliet. For a man who never studied acting, Leo seems to be doing okay.
He's so brilliant. He's really, really, truly amazing as an actor and as a person, too.
Leonardo is terrific.
Leo was a hoot. It was like having, a younger brother I never had.
Leo's infectious. If he's in a good mood, which during 8 months of filming you're gonna have a couple of bad days. But if he's in a good mood, man, everybody feels it. I mean, he's just a lot of fun.
He's beautiful. He's got the great looks, the blonde hair, the perfect, smile.
The recent fascination with this fun-loving actor has spawned a small industry devoted to Leo mania. There are the websites, the tell-all articles, and of course, the book, filled with trivia like the fact that an agent once told him to change his name to Lenny Williams. Well, Leonardo says he's taking his new status in stride. After all, being a celebrity isn't so bad.
I mean, somebody coming up to you and telling you they like your work is not the worst thing in the world.
Help me!
And as for his involvement with the big boat, Leo says he's grateful for the opportunity.
It's rare that something of this sort of size comes along that is actually a terrific, story overall.
But as for any future big-budget movies, well, it's a ship he'd rather not board, at least not at the moment.
Instinctually and talking to you right now and telling you probably not for a long time.
There's lots more to come on our special E! News look at Titanic, including the film's leading ladies. We'll hear from Kate Winslet and Gloria Stewart's very drastic step.
I was so disappointed in my lack of progress that I quit in '39. I burned all my scripts and burned all my skills and said I would never make another film
Safe
again.
environment, albeit a wet one. Todd Newton has the watery details.
That's it for stunt team. Nice work.
We were sort of cabled onto the back as the ship was plummeting.